When many people hear the term influencer, the first person that jumps into their mind might be one of the Kardashians. But the truth is that today, anyone can create content, and many people are doing just that and making a living doing it.
There are so many different journeys that people take to get there. Some of these happen kind of by accident, when people share the things they love with the world and they wake up one day with an audience who just can't wait to hear more.
But this podcast isn't about how to get rich as a creator.
Instead, this podcast is all about getting started.
Cheers to getting started. Hey everyone, so today we're super excited to be joined by Sandy Lin. Sandy is an expert on the creator economy and has over 500K followers on TikTok, largely made up of other creators who look to her for advice on growing and monetizing their accounts. So we're super lucky to have her on the podcast today. Sandy is also the founder of Creobase, an awesome startup that's designed to help professional creators land great brand partnerships. And she's just generally an amazing person who has been a supporter of Meru since the very early days. We're super lucky to have her as an advisor as well. And with that, let's kick things off. Well, Sandy, thanks so much for taking the time. Really great to find the time just to kind of hear a little bit more about your journey getting started as a creator, and how you approach, how you monetize your account, and your key focus areas for growing your account. So yeah, I'd love to hear, maybe just kind of start with step one or square one, how you got started as a content creator.
Yeah, for sure. So I got started as a content creator in around 2020, mid-pandemic. Before that, prior to that, I was in e-commerce. I owned like a pet boutique shop. I sell like collar, bandana, leashes for around 3 years. And I decided to close that shop down. But I wanted to do something on social media ever since I was in high school, middle school, growing up watching YouTube. So TikTok was really a safe space for me. Because on Instagram, I have so many friends and family, and I always felt a little judged sometimes when I try to post like an influencer. So TikTok was a great place where I could experience and just literally talk about anything regarding to my journey as an entrepreneur on there. And that's how really I got started.
Awesome. That's great. And was a lot of your early content kind of focused on sharing that journey that you had as a business creator, as a small business owner? Would you consider that kind of your niche? Or curious how you got that kind of initial inspiration in terms of the actual type of content that you're posting?
I get embarrassed sometimes, but my TikTok handles is literally called small business tips _. And it was so funny because I have another account where I post like just random dancing videos, and I randomly one day just thought, hey, I like really want to share this aspect of my life that no one really knows about. And then I came up with that handle. So I just started sharing it organically, really derived from myself of not really having a lot of work coming up when I started the small business. I had to dive into a lot of YouTube videos, articles, stuff like that. And I feel like information was pretty gatekeep, so I really wanted to spread my experience in that sense. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like a lot of like advice to creators who are just starting out is very focused on like picking a niche and sort of finding your niche. And so for you, would you say it really was kind of just speaking from a place of experience? And I guess maybe a related question there is, do you think a lot of people kind of overthink this initial question?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of people hinders, like the biggest hindrance for a creator to jump on is that, oh, I don't know where to start. I need to pick a niche, but I don't really want to pick a niche. Then don't pick a niche. I think that if you just try out whatever the content you feel organically to you, the niche is going to come to you. And ideally, you want to become your own niche, right? People want to fall in love with you. Even if you're talking about health, wellness, people follow you for you and your specific sharing of experience and expertise for sure.
Yeah, I liked what you just said about how like you also had like an account for like dance videos, and then you had another account that was kind of focused on small business. And so maybe it is just kind of this, you know, experimentation and making sure that you're having fun with it.
Exactly.
Sandy, you mentioned that sometimes you got a little embarrassed when you were posting like an influencer. Do you consider yourself an influencer, capital I?
Now, like right now?
Yeah,
Huh. Okay, so the thing is that I feel like the word influencer has a very interesting connotations. It really comes from at the back, it's like, okay, Instagram influencer that posts pictures, really pretty pictures, potentially mostly clothing or a little bit more revealing. And that's why I give it a bad connotations. And back in like 5 years ago, no one really understood what that means. And YouTubers really don't call themselves influencer, they call themselves YouTubers. So I would say, yes, I'm an influencer, but I lean more toward creatives. I rather consider myself a creative because I not only create contents, I have some sort of influence, but these doesn't really put me in the category of influencer.
totally, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such an interesting question, this kind of idea of like influencer. And I feel like a lot of folks, also have kind of adopted this term of creator. And it does seem like there's a distinction, but I feel like I've talked with a lot of creators who identify themselves as influencers because they are, in the sense that they are influencing others, but it is, I do feel like it's a word that has a lot of baggage and like negative connotation. I'm curious too, kind of going back to that early journey, like, you're experimenting with content, you're putting out small business tips. What was your first post that really like popped off, or like when were you starting to see some real engagement? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, so my first post actually got, like, I remember it clearly. I think it was, yeah, June 1st or something like that. A few days after my birthday, actually May 28th, a few days after my birthday, I decided to post the first videos. It was about a packaging, like where do you get packaging for your small business? And that video, I put it on my phone, and all of a sudden I just see all the notifications are popping up. I'm like, what is going on? And then I opened it. The video got 6,000 views, and at the time I was like, oh my god, 6,000? And my account grew like 6,000 within like 2 days. I was like, whoa, what's going on? So that video ended up to be like 100K, not viral, but at the time I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of people. But I have to say, back then in 2020, it's definitely a lot easier to grow, and not a lot of people was posting in my niche at that time. So that's a lot easier in that sense. But I think that was my first video that kind of went pretty okay or viral, that gave me that, okay, this is something I need to do consistently.
Has the niche changed since then? Do you think if that same post, if you were a new account posting that same thing today, like is the world different than it was when you were getting started there?
Oh, absolutely. Like what I did before would not work right now. I did a lot of like pointing at like text, and then like dancing integrations, and then some video transition with text overlay. It's very like 2020, 2021 vibe. But now in TikTok is a lot more focused on storytelling. How can you be a lot more down to earth, authentic, finding your own video editing style? It's a lot different now for sure.
Yeah, in terms of sort of like those transitions, like that kind of style of 2020, 2021, and now kind of more of a focus on like storytelling. Do you think that that's like a reaction just to kind of more people coming onto the platform, more people, like niches getting more crowded, and so now there's more of this kind of focus on more like individualism and individual style, or like what do you think is kind of driving that change or that shift in terms of types of content that gets engagement?
Yeah, so I think as TikTok mature and as platform matures, contents get more in depth and people crave a lot more. Back then, trends was really well because TikTok was really new. Everything was pretty interesting. Yeah, like, oh, a dog video, that's pretty funny, right? So it was just, I don't know, like at that time, things just a lot nuanced and a lot more new to people. So everything kind of get picked up. And obviously it's less saturated at that time because TikTok still had that connotation of this is a dancing app for teenagers. So a lot of older millennials or boomers are not on the app quite yet. But as TikTok matures and people started to get bored of these like very fast consumption of videos, they started to wanted to learn a lot more. And we kind of started seeing like TikTok came out with 3 minutes video, now 10 minutes video, right? So they're even the platform is trying to push toward these longer form contents.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Of all the different types of engagement that you get, people liking your videos, people commenting, even cross-sharing and stuff, what's the kind of engagement that you're looking for the most? And are you creating content that's sort of designed to create the kind of engagement you want? Or is it that you're putting the content into the world and taking what engagement comes?
Yeah, so it really depends. Like sometimes I'll purposely post videos that I know is going to do well, that designed to go viral. And then videos that I purposely post specifically for the audience, for my community. And the engagement that I really look for is watch time. I think before it was like, okay, engagement, likes, shares, and save comments is great. But right now, watch time is king. Like if people watch through your videos and they are engaging, that is the key where your contents actually get pushed out.
That makes a lot of sense. If you were kind of giving advice to a creator just starting today, would you say that they should be optimizing for something like watch time, or like what would be your number one piece of advice?
My number one piece of advice is to post 20 contents without thinking. I would say like your first 10 to 20 contents, maybe even like 50 contents. It's not going to be the best, but that's for you to experience and see what works for you and what's worked and what stick with audience. Kind of throwing like things on the wall and see what sticks, right? And that is for your stuff. I wouldn't even think about engagement. I wouldn't even think about anything, but just post and then study your videos. Like every time you post, look at your video and see what does well and what doesn't. Try to recreate those videos that does really well and see, okay, what makes it do well. So social media, a lot of people will say, okay, it's luck or whatever it is. No, it's not. It's study, strategics, and consistency.
I have a question for you about the money. What was the first time you, as a content creator, got paid for being a content creator?
Oh my God. So I was thinking about this question the other day and I couldn't thought of it. So I went back to my email and also, okay, who was the first guy? And Entree is a community of like, kind of like LinkedIn meets content creator meets entrepreneur type thing. And they want me to do a video for them to do their like promotions. And I was like, oh, holy crap, that is awesome. So I charged him $50 because at the time I think I had 20K. I charged him $50 and I was like, what? It is a 15-second video. I get paid $50. If I do 20 of them, that's a pretty good, okay, decent thing. Yeah, but like, wow. So that was when I realized, oh wow, okay, maybe I can make some money off of this.
What about the money today? Like, if somebody was working with you today, like, what are you looking for? How much are you making? If you're comfortable sharing, of course.
Yeah, of course. I really love being transparent in this area. So it really ranges, but I would say for TikTok, I usually charges between $4,000 to $5,000 per TikTok. And then obviously usage, right? Everything else is different. And then on Instagrams, recently I grew quite a bit. So I had to do a lot more figuring out on what I'm going to charge. But right now we're charging in IG Reels, it's about $5,000 to $7,000. But obviously it really ranges depending on the company I'm working with, how big of a skill they are, what they are asking for. But yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned your audience on Instagram there. That was pretty recent that you grew to about 170K on Instagram. What happened? How did you grow that audience over on Instagram, transitioning from TikTok?
Yeah, so my audience on my Instagram was pretty much like isolated the whole time I was doing content. Unless like when IG Reel first came out, I did post a bit more, and I grew from about, I would say, 3,000 to 35K within maybe like 5 months, and then it would just went stagnant. The whole time was stagnant for a year and a half after that, and I pretty much just put it on Siberia. I didn't even care about it. I was like, okay, TikTok is like my thing. I'm not going to look into Instagram, but with TikTok algorithm being changing all the time, I really feel like I need to diversify my audience base. So that's when I went full in on Instagram back in last year, 2020, around July. That's when I started hammering creating content specifically for Instagram and understanding what works and what doesn't on Instagram, posting 3 to 4 times first and then pick it up to 5 to 7 times almost daily once I start seeing some traction. So what I see on Instagram is that it have weight. Like if you consistently post on there, Instagram will absolutely reward you. That I'm pretty much sure of. Like it have waves that picks creators off. Like it'll pick you up. All of a sudden you'll hit 20K growth, and then you're gonna stagnate a little bit after that. Maybe lose some followers. Don't stress out. Right now I'm losing some followers because I'm stressing out, but that's fine. But no, for real. Like if you consistently post, it's gonna spike up again. And I had a spike in July. I went from 35K to 60K, and then had a huge spike in September. Went from 60K to 210K, and I just recently lost a few thousand followers. But like, this is social media. What are you gonna do?
How do you, that numbers game that you're playing as a creator, how do you, I don't know, how do you get comfortable with that? The fact that you're going to be gaining followers and losing followers all the time, is that challenging? Like, how do you internalize that?
It's absolutely challenging. I think that sometimes take a mental toll on you if you focus on it too much, especially if you're a full-time content creator. That is basically your income. Like you need to be doing that, or else you don't have income. So the ups and downs definitely could affect you, but you just have to take a step back and stop caring about it too much. And when you think that you're caring about too much, maybe that's a good indicator you should take a break from social media. That's what I do. Like every time when I see, okay, I'm getting way too stressed out and the content I'm pushing out are no longer fun to me because I'm caring about the number so much, that's when I take like a 1 month break off. I just came out of a 1 month break because it's really affecting me. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm not growing that much. And then I came back with a fresh perspective. So really have to stay in tune with yourself and knowing that, hey, it's not your fault. You don't have a problem. It's sometimes there's things that you couldn't control.
That makes sense. One question that I had there too is like, how do you balance like how much you are actually like creating versus like consuming? Because you mentioned like the importance of like studying like others. And I guess that's one question that kind of came to mind for me is like, you know, you're a creator, you are putting out content, but like, how do you also just like, you know, make it so that you have a healthy relationship with social media, and that you're not like necessarily spending 12 hours on it? And maybe you are spending 12 hours on it. That's great. I think for me, myself, like sort of analyzing my behavior, I think I also sometimes need to like set limits just for myself as a consumer too. And so I imagine given that you are on the platform, but you have to be to a large degree as a creator, how do you just kind of balance that aspect of it as well?
Yeah, so I do a lot of research when I first start out. Like the first 6 months, I'm constantly on the app studying what other people are posting and what I should be doing. But after that, like I really don't go on social media consuming that much anymore once I know what is out there and what I started finding my own style of content. I consume contents in a different way now. I only go on it to entertain myself. That then I consume research through text, not video. Because I realize that if I do video research, sometimes I want to copy off of them sometimes, and that's not going to be original. So I do text research, so read articles, long form maybe videos or podcasts is a big one for me. So rather than consuming TikTok, a very bite-sized video, I do a lot more in-depth research now. So I can internalize that and talk about it in my own perspective.
Are there any particular like websites of articles or podcasts that you'd recommend for somebody to learn more, and if they wanted to dive in text as well?
Yeah, so like Medium is a really great one for a lot of really helpful article. But recently there's a social media app that launched called Artifact. Like this like AI combination of it teaches the AI what you like to read and curate like a bunch of different article for you that relevant to you. So I've been using that a lot. And I read a lot of Crunchbase, TechCrunch, listen to a lot of podcasts as well.
Speaking of AI, AI is kind of on everyone's radar right now. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT and everything going on. It's suddenly showing up in a lot of different applications. Has anything about AI impacted you in the way that you're creating content or the way that other content creators should think about their work?
Absolutely. I think the AI is so helpful. If you are using it correctly, there's so many ways that creator can use it on their content creation. If you are running out of content, ask ChatGPT. Teach ChatGPT how to be a creator and come up for idea for that. I even asked it to come up for my TikTok, YouTube scripts. And I've been using it, hooks, stuff like that. That's one idea. Another idea is outreaching templates, right? Outreaching can be annoying sometimes. So ask ChatGPT to write it, pitching template for you. And I use Zapier to zap that together with my Gmail or Notions. So all the script go directly into my Notions. I can save that as well. For a lot of video editing, I also use Adobe Podcast. They're launching a really cool one. I'm pretty sure they're going to add a lot more, but right now they have a beta usage right now. So basically you have a choppy audio with a lot of background noises. You plug that in, it clears everything up for you. I'm going to plug everything in there for all my sponsorship video, and people loves it.
Do you see, I guess related to that, like AI as like a potential threat at all for creators out there? Like, I think there was the other day I was like seeing some article that was like talking about like a creator like on Instagram, and it looked like completely real. And it was like, the question was like, can you tell the difference? And so, I mean, I guess like that's something that's always been a question that is in my mind. And I feel like is a lot of the conversation around like AI and the potential here. So curious if you also view AI like both as a tool, but also potentially as a threat. Yeah, if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah, I think that it could potentially take some creative job off the market. Maybe video editors, like editors in general, things like that. UI, UX designers, maybe. I think it's a tool to help. But there's a tool called Synthesia. Like they basically have a human AI thing. I don't see it as a threat. I think that people follow people for a reason because of their creativity and personality. I think AI could do a really cool thing on YouTube, reporting news, gaining followers through that way. But if you want to follow a lifestyle influencer, you're not going to follow an AI, because what are you going to follow? Like everything is taught through people to that AI. So I'm not potentially thinking that is a threat right now, but who knows in the future, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, for what it's worth, I agree with you. I think that there's this element of like individuals like curating things, sharing their recommendations that I think would be very hard to replicate, and that's part of the value of having people doing work like you're doing, and being out there. I guess kind of back to this idea of like, how creators can monetize. I mean, are there any like pieces of advice that you would have for somebody maybe who's like negotiating their first brand partnership, and sort of thinking about how they should monetize? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think creators should definitely have multiple stream income. If anything, brand partnership is a really, really great one. It obviously could make up a chunk of money for you, but diversifying to affiliate links or digital products, or potentially actually having your own physical products, are a really great way, because relying on brand deals, sometimes it could be really up and down, as a lot of creators know. And brands take quite some time to pay you, 30 days all the way to 90 days. Your paycheck doesn't come in when you finish the work, it comes in after that. So you really need other things to stabilize your income stream. But let's say if you were negotiating your first brand deals, I would ask your other influencer friends, because you probably don't know what's going on at that time and you don't know what to charge. But making friends with other industry, at the same industry influencer, they can definitely help you in that sense. There are tools out there that can help you pricing, your rates, figuring that out as well. And don't lowball yourself. Always overshoot 20%. Let them bring it down.
Yeah. What are some of the communities that you're a part of that have been helpful for you, and how did you find them and get involved with them?
Yeah, so the community that I have found myself is just really reaching out to creator that I found really interesting. I think TikTok in general, they're pretty open to people. If you're their mutuals, go on their private videos on TikTok is a really great way to increase engagement with your mutuals. But there are a few community out there that does that as well. Yeah, Vegan AI has a really great community on there as well. There's another one that is formulated by an influencer coach. Forgot her name, but I'll provide it to you guys so that you can link it in the description or something. But yeah, there's a lot of them out there, but the best one is really just reaching out to the people that you trust and go from there.
When you are thinking about the content that you're creating, you mentioned how view time is king earlier. How do you think about when you're just going to punch out some short form content, something that'll be brief but engaging, versus when do you really want to like dive deep on something that's going to take a lot of time and be long form content, knowing that a lot of people won't make it to the end, but the people who do will really get something out of it? How do you decide between those two?
Yeah, so I call that like viral versus community videos. There's a video that you know is going to go kind of viral or does a lot better. And these type of videos are made for top of funnel to drive people on the For You page that does not follow you to your follow page and follow you. And then we have video that are long form and deeper on TikTok that are like 1 minute or 2 minutes long videos that's made specifically for your target audience. For my target audience are entrepreneur creators. So I talk a lot more about like in-depth thing, like how do you price your pricing on your posts or things like that, things to look out on, or specific case studies, stuff like that. These videos are not going to do well, but people are going to definitely get a lot of values, and I'm going to get a lot of engagement and funnel into other business of my incomes as well.
That makes sense. And maybe a related question there is for brand sponsored posts, like, is there one that you kind of typically gravitate to? Does it kind of depend on the brand, or like, how do you sort of think about fitting brand like sponsored post into the types of content that you're posting?
Yeah, so I definitely pick and choose my brands a lot more now. And I lean toward more of a long-term partnership. I don't like one video posting, and that's not going to work because my audience is just going to think that's a cash grab. And how I like to position is like, I don't really take on more than 4 partnership per month and no more than 5 to 8 posts between. That's my sweet spot for sponsorship posts across all my social media. So that's like my sweet spot because I don't want to overwhelm my people. I would say brand deals, I usually do about 10 to 20% of my whole entire content. So let's say if I'm posting like, I don't know, 50 videos, and I'll say, okay, how much of that should be brand deals? Obviously, sometimes you couldn't control it because there's brands that you really want to hop on, and you just kind of have to grab onto the opportunity as well.
Speaking of which, who have been some of your favorite to work with so far?
Yeah, so I really love working with Instagram creators. They're absolutely amazing. They definitely give creators the whole creative realm. They never restrict anyone. And then another one that I really like working with is Adobe. Adobe is a really great one as well. They definitely have a lot more thoughts into what you should be creating. But they always work with you with your timelines, really great with communication as well.
Huh. On the other side of that coin, who, maybe you don't need to name names, but like, have you had any horror stories here or partnerships that really were a pain or fell through?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of work. Oh my God, a lot of them end up well. I would say in general, brands are not bad. Brands are pretty good with like communication, following through things. Agencies are the ones that tend to ghost creators. Surprising because agency kind of is in this industry, right? So like you kind of always know which agency you kind of want to avoid. But I definitely have a brand that reached out to me, an agency reached out and needed this video, and I gave them the video already, And they came back 2 months after and they were like, oh, so sorry. The brand decided to opt out. This campaign is canceled. I'm like, what? And I was like, okay, well, kill clause. I always add a kill clause saying, okay, if you don't post this video, you have to give me 50%, especially when I already provide you the work. So I was like, okay, well, I'm invoicing you 50% of the fee. So I invoiced them. They took another 2 months to pay me the payment. So I actually ended up messaging their CEO on LinkedIn. I'm like, well, okay, so I do not do this. Like, you need to pay your creators. And I actually made a private video on TikTok asking people how to deal with this situation. The funny thing is that the girl who ghosted me, she ended up working on another agency and she reached out to me. I'm like, this is mind-blowing. What's going on? Yeah, it was a interesting thing.
Would you advise that people avoid working with agencies, or are there agencies out there that are really worth their salt? How should new creators navigate agencies versus brands?
Oh, agencies are great in general, but they are just definitely, you need to stand your ground with agency because they know what they're doing. They do this every single day, but you need to be a boss. You need to know what you're worth and don't be wishy-washy with them. Agencies where a lot of money come from because a lot of brands work with the agency and have a lot more budget, right? So when you're working with the agency, make sure to put in kill clause. Kill clause is basically saying that this project is canceled, but you still get paid if you create content or how far along the actual project goes. And don't be afraid to charge more when you're working with agency because agency have a lot bigger budget.
What do you see as the intersection between how e-commerce and especially small businesses have been really blowing up the last couple of years with Shopify and all the other tools that are out there for them? Social media, this wave of new platforms. You've got TikTok, you've got the Reels, and all the things that are like that showing up. And you've also got the creator economy. You have a ton of people like you every day who are putting out content on these different platforms. What does that intersection look like, and where do you think that that's going to go in the future?
I really strongly believe that live shopping is going to be somewhere down the future, right? So live shopping, it has been really big in Asia right now. And in China, it's been really big. The whole Asia is doing it. I think US is definitely going to pick up. Amazon has been doing a really great job now, but okay. TikTok is working on a really great live shopping features. And I think that's definitely where the commerce is going. Where creator can make money is through affiliate marketing, through affiliate links and being able to understand how to sell and influence their audience. And that comes from a great cult niche of you have to cultivate a really close need of community that trusts you to be able to sell them something. And I think that's definitely going to be a huge boost of income for a lot of creators. Once those live shopping immerse a lot more and people in the consumer space get more used to how to live shop, creators going to make a lot more money in affiliate links and selling product directly through that, especially. And the biggest thing on brand side is that brands right now we're in a downturn, economy downturn, and brands are a lot more selective and they want to see ROI returns in terms of influencer marketing or UGC creations. So they're looking at some sort of conversion to see that you can sell. They want to see that you have an affinity page. How much can you convert? They want to see that data. On top of that, they want to see on your IG story, are you consistently posting, tagging links out? And they want to see link clicks and how much can you actually sell.
Interesting. You mentioned Asia, and you are actually based in Taiwan. So curious to hear a little bit more about, what it's like to be a creator in Taiwan. If I remember correctly, you're from there originally, and you moved back during the pandemic. So I would love to hear a little bit more about that journey and what it's like maybe in comparison to the U.S.
Yeah, so I moved back here around a year and a half ago. Because my mom, she actually had cancer in 2019. So she's fully now great now, but I just want to make sure and be here closer to her. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to end up in the future, probably not in Taiwan. So I just want to take this time when I'm young, to work here. But the creator economy here in Asia is definitely interesting because one side you have China that's very mature in creator economy, and pretty much probably even more so than US, I would say sometimes. Maybe not so many SaaS were built around it, but the influencer marketing there is definitely huge. But in Taiwan is a completely different thing. People don't get paid well here. I met a few creators here. They have 200K on Instagram, on YouTube. They're making about 1 to 3 grand per month on that is like one pay post in US. So that's definitely interesting. But thank God I'm not Taiwanese based demographics. But in terms of like adjustments, I work a lot of nighttime, and that kind of threw me off a bit. Like right now we're filming our podcast. So it's like 10:41 p.m. here, and I have another 2 meetings to go to. So I'm just like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this long term. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you for for being here. We really appreciate it. But I imagine, yeah, that transition is pretty tough. I'm used to it right now. I'm okay. I just need to be okay. I time blocks a lot, so I know exactly what I have, how much time I can sleep in tomorrow. So I time it pretty well. Nice.
You're up burning the midnight oil right now. Do you think that being a creator as a job, as a lifestyle, is that sustainable? Is that what you see yourself doing for the rest of your career, or what's your view on sustainability of the life?
Yeah, so we haven't really seen a whole life cycle of a creator, what's that going to look like, right? So I think the oldest creator is probably on YouTube. And even that, we haven't seen a creator that has fully retired yet. Like, what does that even mean? We don't know. You see every other industry, people know what that trajectory look like. But in creator economy, I feel like it's a lot more, it's still shifting a bit more. I'd say I'll always be a creator in some capacity, but I wouldn't say that I see myself only doing this or thinking that this is going to be my whole trajectory. I think what creator is going to become is they're already brands. They're going to become entrepreneurs. The smartest creator knows that content creation is a gateway. It's like a funnel into something else that you actually absolutely love. Some people go into D2C. Some people go into tech like I do. A lot of people go into venture capital, right? So it's a great way to funnel into something that you want to do.
In that way, it sounds a lot like how many professional musicians will open a studio. They have the industry knowledge. If they have some success and some capital, then they can branch out, and they're always still a musician, and they're always still at heart where they started, but they are able to add all these other elements of business to it.
Exactly. And I think the best business is going to come up from content creator. In the creative side of things, just never going to die, right? I think AI, you asked the question that if I think creative will ever be replaced. I honestly don't think so. Creativity is always going to flourish. AI can come up with things that they learn, but creativity is always innovating.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I mean, I think coming from the brand side, I think brands that don't have that kind of creative element, they either have to like outsource it to a degree by working with other creators, or they need to find a way to build it internally, because otherwise it's just how do they grow? And so I think that, yeah, in that sense, I always see creators kind of playing a really key role and an increasingly important role, like in the next, decade beyond.
Definitely. I mean, I saw an article saying creators is like the hottest new engineer or something, because it's always hard to find good creator that want to stay in a company for a long time to help the company grow on social media. So yeah, I think there's definitely demands on that, but interestingly, creator don't want to work for someone. So that it's always kind of okay, so do I want to work for myself or work for a company? So that's where the tricky thing goes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess related to that, I feel like there's a lot of studies that are kind of talking about how the next generation, like kids these days, want to be creators. I mean, as kind of this next generation kind of comes up in it, I'm curious to see where you feel like what's the future of work? Like, do you think it's just going to be a lot of people kind of focused on creating kind of their own brands, like more entrepreneurs, or I guess, yeah, what are your thoughts on kind of this new wave and the fact that it has seemed to taken hold with kids?
I think that a lot of kids will want to do something creative. So, like, content creation will always be there for them, potentially for a side hustle. But I don't necessarily think a lot of them will become full times. Because there's so much content out there, there's so much information. Kids are getting exposed to a lot more different industry insight. So it actually helped them understand what they like more. So before then, I didn't know what venture capital do. Like, I thought that was a fake job, but now there is like actual people talking about it. So kids nowadays could utilize social media to learn what they like. But I do still feel like on the side, they can be creative and post something as a day-to-day to document themselves. And also, we still need plumbers, electricians, and things. So I'm trying to be a creator.
Who knows? Maybe there's some plumbing creators out there. I could use that content, like, honestly, like, sometimes.
There's so many like construction content creator. They're doing so well. Like, people love it. Give it up, especially like millennial boomer men. They love these type of stuff. I mean, they're getting construction money and content creation money. That's really good.
You cut right to my heart. I just followed an airplane mechanic. I thought it was great. It was super, it was so cool.
Exactly. And just because they're a creator, they're not going to stop doing mechanic because they love both.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, one of the things too that's kind of interesting, like, if I don't know how you would categorize your niche, but I guess the way that I sort of think about it is it's like you're a creator for other creators. And kind of what we were just talking about is that there's such like a diversity of creators that are out there. And I guess like maybe kind of circling back to like what we were talking about earlier in terms of like niches, like, do you think that there's like a finite number of niches out there? Do you think it really is kind of, the sky's the limit in terms of topics that people can create content about?
I think the sky's the limit. If there is a thing that people want to learn about, I think there could be a niche for that. I mean, there's like people just popping pinballs, like content for that. So like it really is, the sky is the limit. And I like watching those videos. I'm not gonna lie, it's gross. That's funny.
It's gross, but I can't stop.
Exactly. Oh, can't watch.
All right, Sandy, what do you have on the horizons? What's something that you want to plug?
Yeah, so I've been working, like hustling for sure. So I'm a content creator full time, but I really want to help a lot more creator to land more brand partnerships. So I'm working with my own startup, a content creator economy startup called Crew-Base. We help people automate and manage and land brand partnerships on the side. So yeah, so that is something that's coming up real fast. Really excited. We have about like 1,000 people on the like waitlist right now. So yeah, so that's basically it. And follow me on by sending link literally everywhere, wherever you want, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and share your wisdom with us.
Thanks, Sandy.
Of course, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.